Next on Sisterhood of the Second Act.
We all want to look our best when we walk out the door. Sometimes trendy styles don't suit our body types. Today we'll learn what styles look best on specific body types. Image consultant Beth Garrett will explain. From winter through summer, scams are always in season. Julie Wheeler, president of Better Business Bureau of Western Virginia, tells us how to avoid some common scams. We'll meet these ladies on this edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.
Sisterhood of the Second Act is brought to you by Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to individuals, families, and small businesses. Contact Pat at 540-798-8104. 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600. Cabby Fashions take you from the boardroom to the beach. Dress for a garden party or a night on the town. Independent cabby stylist Darlene Marshall will make sure you look your best no matter what the occasion. She'll bring the store to your home for you and your friends or schedule a private consultation. Call Darlene 540-330-6819, 540-330-6819, or find her on Instagram at Dapper Darling, on Facebook at Darlene Marshall Independent Cabby Stylist.
I'm gonna be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids say they be looking for a thorny tree from me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with the loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
Now from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. Beth Garrett is a color and wardrobe consultant. Through her business, Elevating Your Image, she helps clients look their best. She joins us today to give us tips on how to dress for our body type. Thank you for being with us today, Beth.
Well, thank you for having me.
You are an image consultant. One of your services is color consulting. Why is wearing the right color so important?
Well, that's a great question, Kathy. If there's one thing that you can do that will instantly transform your face and bring your face alive, that is to wear the right colors on or around your face. Most people don't realize that based on their coloring, their hair, the skin, and the eye combination, that there are certain colors out there that actually will significantly enhance your appearance or significantly detract from how you look.
Well, I think we've all noticed people that look really especially beautiful in certain colors, and sometimes I think even the opposite. So what you're saying makes sense, but how do you help clients determine what their best colors are?
When I work with a client, I will do a color analysis, and I take into account their hair, their skin, and their eye color, and I use these color chips to do that. I'll match them up with color chips, and then I drape a little bit with some different colors, and then I put that data into a computer program, and the company I work with will build them a customized color palette based on their coloring of what colors will enhance them. To make it, I guess, easy to understand is kind of, we go by the seasons,
Yes.
Summer, fall, winter, and spring. If you are a winter, then you are someone who is deep and cool in your coloring, and those beautiful, vivid colors that are deep and cool, like fuchsia, magenta, black, white, turquoise, electric blue are going to look really good on that type of coloring. If you are a summer, you're also cool. But these individuals, their appearance can't handle the intensity of deep cool colors, so you have to go lighter. And these are very soft colors. They're kind of muted. They're the pastels like violet, mauve, baby blue, powder pink. Those very feminine colors. So those are going to look good on the summers. When you move over to the warm side, you have the springs, who are light and warm. And that is where I fall, where Kathy falls. And I love the colors. I'm actually drawn to them. So if you're a spring, you're light and warm. You wear the peaches, the corals, aqua, camel, or like a periwinkle is going to look really pretty on you. And even like this color is specific. I call it spring green. It is specific to the spring season. If you're in autumn, you are deep and warm, and you just have this very earthy look to you with your coloring. And these are the colors like your rust, your browns, your
mustard olive.
I remember
olive, you telling us.
Yeah.
And I think those colors, what you say, it sounds like the season.
It does.
It's very helpful to picture it in those colors as you describe the season. And so I think the other thing that you also help clients do is determine the right styles for their body type, which all of us really want to know. And how do you determine someone's optimal style for their body type?
Well, when I meet with clients to determine style, there's two things we look at. One of them is the face shape, and the second thing we look at is the body shape, which is called your silhouette. And so your face shape is actually called your inside line for fashion purposes, and your body type is called your outside line for fashion purposes. And so both, did you ever see someone you think, oh wow, they look like $1 million?
Yes.
And you're sitting there thinking, okay, what makes them look like $1 million? And you start dissecting what they're wearing, and you're like, well, they're wearing things like everybody else wears. I can't see anything unique about it. But these are probably those subtle things that you find out about yourself that helps just improve your appearance. These little subtle things like necklines that are complementary of your face shape, your glasses, hats, and then with your body types. Are you linear in your body type, which is straight? You don't really have much of a defined waist. Or are you curvilinear, you have a little bit of defined waist, or are you curvy, which means you're the bombshell?
Sure.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I learned when I did this was that one of the worst things I can do is wear a belt, the belted look.
Oh.
And I've never liked it on me. So because of my body type, that doesn't flatter my figure.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so you have to take your face and your body type into both of those into account when you're looking at
That's
style.
very helpful. We are speaking with Beth Garrett, owner of Elevating Your Image. And can you tell us how many body types there are? Is there kind of a chart of how many, like you would fall into something?
Well, for style purposes, it really falls into the three categories.
Okay.
The linear, no defined waist, curvilinear, somewhat of a defined waist, and then the curvy. Now, even if you're a pear or an apple, you're going to fall into the curvilinear because you still have somewhat of a little bit of a defined waist.
And what are the common body types then? Is that what you just described?
Yeah, that's what I just described.
Okay, so give us some examples of styles that look good on a few of these different body types. Like you mentioned, no belts for you. What body type are you?
If you are very curvy, then the belted look is going to be a really nice look for you.
Accentuate the curve.
Oh, absolutely. If you have wide hips, then you really do not want to wear something that comes down as bulky around the hips because it's going to add width. If you are linear, which means you have no defined waist, you really need to be wearing something that's a little bit tailored so that it looks like you have a waist.
That makes sense.
What you're trying to do is create the look of a silhouette when you're dressing. So these garments that are just boxy and wide and go, just fall down, they don't do anything for helping, show your figure off or to give you a complimentary body look there.
That makes total sense. So you also include accessories. So does it really matter what type of earrings someone wears or hat or necklace?
Yes, that was the other thing I found out when I did my style report, was that I've always hated hats on me. I should have brought them. I have two examples now. One is a fedora, and that is considered to be a short brimmed hat. The other one is more of a wide straw hat that I have. And both of those I bought on vacation to keep the sun out of my eyes. But what I found is that I need a wide brimmed hat for my face shape. I have an oblong face shape, which means I have a very long face. So what the goal for me is to make my face look wider so that it doesn't look so long. Well, when I wear a short brimmed hat, it makes my face look really wide. Sure. When I wear the wide brimmed hat, it balances my face out.
That makes perfect sense.
You wouldn't notice it unless you saw the two side by side. And like I said, these are those little subtle things. The same with the earrings.
Sure.
This is probably a little unusual for me to wear something this long. But if I wore these really long dangly earrings here, or really long, if there's an illusion there, it makes my face look longer. So mine really need to be short and round, like this right here, up around my ears. And I'm very contoured through here, so it just means I'm rounded. So rounded glasses or rounded accessories around my face is going to be more complimentary than things with jagged edges.
That makes sense as well. And we are talking with Beth Garrett, owner of Elevating Your Image. And how do you know face shapes? Like you just mentioned, yours is oval.
Oh, no, mine's oblong.
Oh, oblong.
There's actually 10 different face shapes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the oval is actually considered to be the perfect face shape.
Okay.
So if you go to your hairdresser and you say, I want you to give me a hairstyle that complements my face, then what she's going to try to do is recreate the oval. So for all of us women who are not ovals, well, we just got to try to recreate it.
I see.
So you have 5 face shapes that are angled, and angled means that you have a very square, boxy type face with a very defined chin line. And so to be angled, you're either a square, a rectangle, a diamond, a V triangle, and it's not a pear, but, the A triangle.
Oh, sure.
And so if you're contoured, you're the oval, you're a pear, you're oblong, or you're round, or you're a heart.
Okay.
So those, it's really interesting. I found myself now when I'm watching television, I'm looking at actors' face shapes, and
I think that's really so interesting. So please give our listeners or viewers some tips on how to determine what styles will work best for them.
You're just going to have to know your body type, and especially if you stand in the mirror. I mean, I think we know it when we see it, and you're looking at what you're wearing. So if you don't like what you're seeing, then obviously don't go out and repeat that. Buy the same type of garment. And there was something too, I was going to throw in another tip, was that if you are like a broad-shouldered woman, then what you should do is create a line. And when you create a line, the brain interprets this as 2 different spaces instead of 1 large space. And you can create a line by a zipper, using a zipper, a button, a jacket, a sweater, a vest. Anything simple like that will help improve the look of broadness.
That's an excellent tip. And the last question, can you do virtual appointments for all of your services?
Absolutely. I can.
You can. So if people really want to learn a little bit more from it, they can just go ahead and make a virtual appointment.
Sure.
Beth, thank you so much for being here. It's always a delight to have you, and I love what you share with the women.
Thank you, Kathy.
And we will have Beth's contact information on today's show notes at sisterhoodofthesecondact.com. When we come back, scammers are working to get your money, in person and online. They mimic trusted institutions. When we return, how to identify scams.
Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with the loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to help women build wealth and security. Call Pat at 540-798-8104, 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600. Once again from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome back to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. Check your inbox and there's probably a phishing email there. Scammers use emails, phone calls, and the U.S. mail to try to get your money. Julie Wheeler, President and CEO of the Better Business Bureau serving Western Virginia, is here to tell us what scams are making the rounds now. Thank you for joining us, Julie.
It's always my pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Scams are always in session. It seems like something new is always cropping up. What are some of the common investment scams targeting people near or entering retirement?
Well, investment scams have always been big. You've heard of Ponzi schemes where they take money from one person to pay the last investor. They'll give you a little bit of your money back, but there's nothing there. There is no investment. Cryptocurrency has been a big place for new scams where people invest in cryptocurrency, and there's no protections anywhere on that. So we see a lot, and as people are getting closer to retirement or they're thinking about trying to have retirement, particularly when things are kind of unsteady, unstable, they're looking for ways, to make some money so they're in a position. But you've got to be super, super careful, because just as much as you're looking to find something good, the crooks are out there trying to figure out a way to take your money.
So we're going to learn how to do our due diligence today.
Absolutely.
Excellent. We are talking with Julie Wheeler, President and CEO of the Better Business Bureau serving Western Virginia. So what are red flags that we should keep an eye out for when we are considering investing?
Well, first of all, if they guarantee you a return, and they're telling you something just totally unreasonable. So maybe it's you can double your money in X amount of time, or they need you to make a decision quickly. There's no paperwork. There's nothing legitimate. You can't check and see if they're registered. They're not registered. You've never heard of the investment. It's, and it's a lot of times, unfortunately, they'll use church groups or business groups, other groups, people that get together where you tend to trust the people that you're with, and if they can get in there to make a presentation to you, and they'll even pay somebody to say they've made money to convince you to go ahead and invest. So, anytime it's something that just is too good to be true,
red flags are
run
there.
The other way.
That sounds very good. And we know that a lot of people play the lottery and sweepstakes. So how do scammers even use these games of chance to target people?
Well, particularly like sweepstakes. Unfortunately, Publishers Clearinghouse's name gets used all the time. You'll get a call, an email, even a text message that you've won Publishers Clearinghouse, but before you can get your prize, you've got to pay these fees or these taxes, or you've got to provide some sort of financial
so would they never, the legitimate company would never ask you for money?
Absolutely not. Winning is free. You do not pay 1 penny, period. And if someone tells you you've won and the next word out of their mouth is they need you to get gift cards to pay for something, or credit card or something, they want payment, any form of payment, you have not won. And the other thing to remember is you can't win a sweepstakes if you didn't enter. So if you get notified that you've won a sweepstakes and you haven't entered one,
there you go.
There's another red flag.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. But you can't wait. Everybody wants to win something.
Oh, sure, we all want to. But in foreign lotteries, anything outside our local lotteries are actually illegal. So if you get notified that you've won the Canadian lottery or something like that, those are not even legitimate. So, well, they may be legitimate there, but those notifications are not, because they don't award like that. So.
All right, so these are all good to know. So that sounds like you're just giving us what the red flags for a lottery or sweepstakes to indicate that they might be fraudulent. But older homeowners tend to have a lot of equity in their homes. So Many of our listeners and viewers have probably seen the reverse mortgage commercials. Now, they always sound legitimate. You hear that they can be a great tool when you're retiring. How are scammers using the popularity of this particular service to their advantage?
Well, first of all, reverse mortgages are an instrument, and in some cases they do make sense. The key there is to deal with your local bank, deal with a legitimate company that you can go sit down and talk to that you know. It's not an 800 number on the screen.
That makes sense.
Because it is something you really need to strongly consider, because what it is you take the equity out.
Sure.
And then at the time your house is sold, that will pay that off. And,
Right.
And in a lot of cases, if that's where you have really put your money over the
Yes.
years rather than in retirement savings or something like that, you may actually need that for your retirement. But it is a mortgage. It does require repayment.
So you do want to make sure you go to an institution that you have vetted or that you're familiar with.
Absolutely.
So I think that reminds me, I just saw yesterday a commercial for selling back your timeshare. Would that be another thing you might, it's an 800 number, is that another thing? Because, a lot of people, as they get older, they're not going to be traveling as much.
We get a lot of calls about timeshare resale, and the problem with the resale companies is they want you to pay money up front. There's no guarantee they're going to sell it, and unfortunately, in most cases, there's not a good market for it. And there are
Okay.
a lot of crooks out there that are taking your money to resell your timeshare and then are not doing anything. So you got to look long and hard, maybe even look for a friend or family member who may want that timeshare.
Right.
But typically the properties will not buy them back.
Right.
And the resale companies that are charging you fees, if they charge it after the sale, that's fine.
Okay.
But if they're charging it beforehand just to actually list or try to sell your timeshare, that's a big red flag, because they're not going to do anything. I can pretty much tell you that they're not going to be successful.
Yes, and you can always probably talk to some kind of financial advisor or attorney, because if you may be able to get something for gifting it to a family member,
Right.
at least something
Right,
like
yes.
that you know is well executed and covered. So I like
Yes,
that.
you didn't think about it 25 years ago when
Yeah,
you bought it.
that's
and
right.
And we
That's
hear
right.
from people all the time on that.
I think that's really important. And so how do you determine you are dealing with a legitimate provider? Because now you're telling us, you can get a reverse mortgage, or there are, if they're not taking a commission on your timeshare till after, some of these are. So how can we determine if it is legitimate?
Well, you always want to check them out. You can check with us, check with bbb.org, see if we have information on them. You can call and talk to us. But their licensing is very, very important. Anybody selling, whether you're selling investments or selling real estate or doing mortgages, there is licensing that's required in order to do all of those things. So you want to make sure that they have the proper licensing in place.
Okay. We are talking with Julie Wheeler, President and CEO of the Better Business Bureau serving Western Virginia. And again, I think some localities are seeing real estate personal property tax scams. This is a newer one to me. And is that happening in Virginia?
We have not seen that in this market particularly. However, anything using a local government or a state government or a federal government, we see a lot of those imposter scams. And they may come on via text message, they may come via email. Sometimes it's even a harassing phone call.
Really?
So,
Yes.
so it's just
Scary.
recognizing they're not going to call, they're not going to text typically. And if you have any question at all, you pick up the phone and call the locality, call the organization, and see if they did call you and if there is a problem. Most of the times when they do this, they're asking you for payment in Amazon gift cards or...
So you should know right away.
Or some other Venmo,
Right.
the other payment services. So they're looking for something that isn't how you would typically do it. So again, don't fall for that. If you're concerned, call whatever organization that they said they were.
That makes a lot of sense to me. This is one of the ones I hear a lot about, home repair scams, and they seem to pop up with the flowers during the warm weather months. What scams are you seeing that we should really be aware of at this time?
Well, it's springtime, so this is our door-to-door folks going for driveway sealing and paving, and we've had some of those in the area. and they knock on your door and they're going to either seal or pave your driveway. They've got materials left over from your neighbors down the street, so they can give you a really good deal. Unfortunately, they tend to use substandard material. They're from out of state. You don't know who they are, and you can't track them down if you have a problem. So if they provide you a guarantee, that's great, but you've got to be able to find them.
Yeah, so that's another thing just to think of. Like, don't let that.
You're always better in anything home improvement wise. You make the call and ask somebody to come and give you a quote. Somebody shows up on your doorstep offering
Without you
work.
contact.
In this time when everybody is so busy, you need to just close the door.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Are there other warning signs we should look for besides the driveway type people? Are there other ones?
There's roofers and gutter repair, tree work, all kinds of stuff like that. If you want to do door-to-door outside home improvement, meat sales, that's a biggie right now.
Oh,
we're seeing.
really?
So, yeah.
Oh, my
goodness.
goodness.
Somebody knocks on your door, you do not have a responsibility to listen to them.
Okay.
Strongly urge you don't ever let them in your house. That is especially for seniors. You feel like you need to be polite. You feel like you need to do, but you let them in your house. Sometimes you have a very hard time getting them to leave.
Okay.
And don't hesitate to call the authorities should you have a problem.
That's a very good point. So yes, I think, like we've talked in the past, don't be embarrassed if something happens. To do follow up and do your due diligence.
Absolutely.
So we are on one of the new ones. Charity scams are always in season, but this war in Ukraine is spawning some new scams. So they're asking for donations to help people impacted by war. Of course, our hearts go out to them. What do we need to look for?
Well, you want to deal with charities that actually have a presence on the ground. They are able to help. If you go to give.org, there's a whole list of accredited charities that have been vetted, that have people in place in the Ukraine that can actually help. So that's a good place to start as far as giving. Crowdfunding has become so big. So something shows up on your social media and it's a story about a family. You don't know them. You have no clue who they are. Don't give to them. Find an organization to give to. Okay. Unless you have a personal relationship, or it is the person who shared it has a personal relationship, family, whatever, crowdfunding can be kind of scary because you really don't know if the story is legitimate at all.
That makes sense. I think we all do that. So anyway, as usual, you have given us a lot of things to think about, to be aware of, and I think one of your biggest messages is just to be aware that if something sounds too good to be true, and to remember to do due diligence if anything feels a little off mark. So thank you for being with us today, Julie. It's always a pleasure.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you.
We'll have the Better Business Bureau serving Western Virginia's contact information in our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecond.com. We'll be back to wrap up the show after this.
Kathy's wardrobe provided by Cabby stylist Darlene Marshall. See the styles in our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecond.com.
I want to thank Beth Garrett and Julie Wheeler for being with us today. Beth gave us some great tips on how to best dress for our individual body types, and Julie helped us to be more aware of all the different ways that people try to scam us and what we can do to prevent it. I'm Kathy Heberle. Join us next week for another edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.